We're going to be looking at domains on this, and I'm also going to talk a little bit about range. You'll be responsible for domain, but once you get the idea, then it's pretty much about the same thing. We're going to graph the following functions, scan left to right on the x-axis, and then give the domain using interval notation. Now guys, remember, domain refers to your x values, range refers to your y values. So while you're scanning the x-axis is because you're doing the domain. So let me turn on my calculator. So negative 3x to the third plus 2x minus 5. Let me ask it to graph. I am in standard window. Okay. Your calculator always will graph from left to right. And you have to pretend, maybe the next TI they make, they'll have arrows, but this thing continues forever going up that way and going down. Arrows are important when we scan. So as I start scanning in from the left, if I hit an arrow, that means negative infinity, which means the curve keeps going to my left. So I've got negative infinity to positive infinity. My range, if you remember, refers to my y's. So if I go from negative to positive for my x's, then I should go negative to positive on my y's. So I hit an arrow, which means negative infinity, exit hitting an arrow. So there's positive infinity. Let me look at the next one. Since all of these are on this side, I'm just going to do the odds and then I'll go do the evens. I don't have to flip back and forth. Now hopefully when you saw this, you'll think, I'm hoping, that I can't use an x value of 8 because I can't have division by 0. Let's see what my graph does. It's coming in, it's going up, and it looks like it is avoiding an x value of 8. So I'm coming into negative infinity, skipping over 8, and then I continue. Let me see if I can move this over to my left sum. And I'm going to do that by doing negative 5 to 15. Now if you have a TI-83, your graph will actually connect. That's called a vertical asymptote, and we'll play with that later. But I've got negative infinity. I'm indicating the x values that are being used all the way up to almost 8 but not including, and then picking back up after that and going to positive infinity. So my domain, I've got negative infinity up to 8, and remember, parentheses means I do not use it. Now it looks like something's happening to the range as well, because as I come up this way, I do hit an arrow, that's negative infinity, but then there's a break right here at y equals 0. It continues on the other side, and then it goes on to positive infinity. So I've got negative infinity up to 0, 0 to infinity. Now we'll look at this one. I've got 2 divided by 5, x minus 7. Let me ask it to graph. Of course I moved it, but I can still do that one on this one. As I scan, I hit an arrow, exit hitting an arrow, that's my domain. My range, I hit an arrow, exit hitting an arrow. So the domain and range is the same on this one, just like number 1. We got a few more to look at. Maybe don't have to worry about my calculator as much. Clear that off. Looks a little fuzzy though. Ask it to read. It's better. So second x squared, 4x plus 12. Get out from under the radical and ask it to graph. I think I'll put this back on Zoom 6. We could have done it there, but it might be a little bit easier here. It looks like it hits at that point right there. That point's negative 3, 0. If you go to your table, do you see that I do have a coordinate point there? But anything to the other side is an error, because if you put these x values in, you end up with a negative under the radical. So let me go back to my picture. Let me scan. It starts immediately at that point, so there's no arrow here. It starts at negative 3 and it goes to positive infinity. So this is where I need a bracket. My range, as I come up this way, it starts at a y value of 0, goes to positive infinity. Let's look at my next one. Okay, scanning my x-axis, hit an arrow, exit, hit an arrow. For my range, let's see, that'd be negative 10, negative 9, negative 8. It looks like it starts at negative 7, and it's actually a coordinate point. So I come up, it starts right there, it's where my shading starts. So negative 7 to infinity. Bracket or parentheses, bracket. One more problem to do. Think about when you have a rational expression, which is what this is called. I can't have division by 0. If you factor this, set it equal to 0, plus 3 minus 3 will have to be exclusions. Let's see if it shows up on the calculator. This is plus 3, negative 3 right there, plus 3 there. Notice it's broken. And if you go to your second graph or table, you'll have error messages there. So if I scan, I've got negative infinity to negative 3. Three to Pooh Bear. Negative 3 to 3. And then finally 3 to positive infinity. Now as for my range, as I come in, I see I'm using all of these values here, and actually I am using this right here is 0, 0, which is legal for this one. So it looks like I'm using all my y values. Okay, so graph these, try scanning. This is just a paper clip that I sort of straightened out, or you can use your finger, but scan your x-axis for the domain, your y-axis for the range. Thank you.